he flashed the bat signal to Gan Kim Yong, form another task force.
Yeah.
Then Gan Kim Yong, opened his cupboard.
MMTF.
Yeah, that's why he's like, okay, where are the tablecloths? With the mic stands, we need to form another task force. I think next time you annoy me or something, I'll be like, Terence, that's not something that one does to a friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that fucking line, be it WhatsApp, face to face. How would someone be able to feel good after hearing that? I think what we've heard quite a few guests on our own podcast say, I think we shouldn't just think that because other countries are like this and we are better than them. Yeah, why compare to them?
Exactly. Yeah.
We should always be aspiring for more.
So Singapore's hitting the big 6-0 this year. It's SG60, and Folklore's marking this milestone in the coolest way possible by interviewing 60 Singaporean seniors over 60 years old to capture their life stories for the Words of Wisdom project. Now think about it. These are the folks who've seen it all. The ups, the downs, the kopitiams turning to hipster cafes. And their stories, they're national heirlooms that need to be preserved for future generations. And guess what? We've already recorded and launched the first wave of 20 recordings, so you can listen to these raw, unfiltered conversations filled with life lessons, memories, and a whole lot of heart. But here's the deal. We still need your help to find more legends to feature. Got a parent, grandparent, or their uncle who's always dropping nuggets of wisdom at family gatherings? Nominate them at folklore.com/words of wisdom. Let's make sure these stories don't get lost in the noise. So go check out the first wave of recordings on the Words of Wisdom website or Spotify playlist. Let's keep these stories alive. And now, onto the podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Yeah.
Oh, thumbs up, Terence. Thumbs up. For those who are just listening, Terence give a very eager thumbs up to the camera.
Yeah, here we are, man. Here we are.
Why?
Post, another big episode that we had. We just released with Harpreet Singh, right?
Yeah.
Big response and everything. I just really enjoying reading people's responses to watching the video. Any of them stuck out to you?
Not particularly stuck out, but the sentiments, a lot of positive sentiments. Of course, once in a while you get haters saying, oh, this guy talk well, but got substance or not.
Yeah.
But I'm actually quite surprised by how positively people have responded to it.
There were a couple of people who said they teared up listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
That tells you something. We don't get a lot of people saying that they cry listening to our podcast. Other than, the points where we do something or say something really funny. Then maybe they cry. Yeah, in tears, right? They cry because they're laughing. Yeah. But crying because they believe in what the person's saying, that's first.
That's first, that's the first. What I do appreciate is some people pointing out that they appreciate the questions that we ask also. Because it is something that, we have been trying to get better at making sure we do our research, making sure we don't shy away from tough questions. And if people are noticing it, then that's great.
Yeah.
Very heartening, very heartening.
Correct.
Yeah. But today is one of those episodes, it's just us.
Palate cleanser.
Palate cleanser.
but don't take away from what it is. I think actually people have been listening a lot to these episodes where we dissect the news. Because, you're going to get a million guest podcasts around the election period.
Yeah.
But episodes where you and I just sit down and just dissect stuff going on in the news, actually that's more rare, right?
Yeah.
And even for us, our schedule also is wow, we're trying to pack in a lot of interviews, but at the same time, we want to talk about stuff going on in the news.
Yeah, and it is cathartic, man, to talk about all this news because there's so many things happening every day, internationally, locally, and it's nice to just talk it out.
Yeah.
It's nice to balance between having a guest there where, you have certain things you want to talk about, whereas now you can just shoot the shit, man.
Yeah. Can't believe it, but I would say, we miss talking to each other.
That is true. I won't deny it, man, Terence. I won't deny it. Yeah. This is a very different dynamic. Very different dynamic.
I guess it's
true.
Yeah, once the absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? The lack of just two of us episodes.
We can just use whatever analogies we want.
Exactly.
We can scold each other.
That's right. Stupid analogies and all.
That's true. So if you've been listening to the interviews and you're not seeing us, two of us talk, this is par for the course, man.
Yeah.
All right, this is par for the course.
Very, very hard to be yourself in front of a senior counsel, right?
Yeah. Also because we know that their time is limited. We want to squeeze in as much as we can.
Yeah.
But this one, we will still always deliver the Yalabat perspective, considering things from different angles. And hopefully, to all those new listeners and viewers, welcome to Yalabat.
Yeah, welcome, man.
Welcome to Yalabat. And I mean, on that note, if you do enjoy this podcast, if you've been listening to for a while, I saw some comments saying, I've been listening to you all for months and I finally decided to subscribe. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of thought that goes into deciding who to subscribe. Right?
Yeah.
That person clearly curates their feed. But if you do enjoy it, please just share our podcast with anyone you know. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Reddit. Leave us a rating on Spotify. I think we're still at 4.8 with 1,300 plus ratings. I mean, why not we hit 1,004? Why not we hit 1,004? And what else, Terrence?
If you want to work with us, we have partners who want to work with us in various different ways. Email us at contact@ministryoffunny.com or just reach out to us via the website ministryoffunny.com.
Yeah, and if we take a while to reply, don't worry. We will reply at some point. It's just that this season is super exciting.
Yeah.
Things are heating up.
Yes.
And even our Prime Minister is going viral.
Yeah, around the world, man.
Around the world.
Yeah.
And that is the first topic. I guess we're ready to jump into it already.
That's right.
Ready to jump into it. It is our PM Wong. Previously Sugar Daddy. Oh no, he was never Sugar.
Never. He was never Sugar.
He was Sugar Daddy, but now he's still kind of Sugar Daddy
Kind of Minister of Finance
but he didn't have that Sugar Daddy hang
No, he didn't.
We haven't come up with a name for him yet.
Yeah.
But he went viral because on April 4th he released a 5-minute video talking straight to the camera, reacting to the effects of Donald Trump and his Liberation Day tariffs. Which we spoke about.
Yeah.
But on 8th April, when Parliament sat, this was on Tuesday, I believe, he gave a 30 minute speech.
Ministerial statement.
Yeah, a ministerial statement addressing the tariff situation and kind of talking about what it means, what it could result in, and what Singapore is doing to respond. After that, he fielded some questions, some questions from opposition members, from the PAP MPs. But how he went viral is a few Indian YouTube channels, I think Hindustan Times and all, they uploaded just the 5-minute video wholeheartedly. I mean, no editing, the 30-minute ministerial speech, and I think it got millions of views. Millions of views. And people on Twitter, on Blue Sky, some US person posted the video there. I think it was just a 2-minute excerpt about what the US is doing seen from the perspective of a Singaporean. And the quote was, what the US is doing now is not reform, it is rejecting the very system it created.
Yeah.
That went viral.
Yeah.
In Nigeria, someone posted a 5-minute video. That went viral. In Pakistan, someone posted the 5-minute video. That went viral. And it's generally comparing this statement to what their own leaders have stated or have not yet stated.
Yeah.
So
you forgot that even the podcast, The Rest is Politics, which is very, very well regarded in the West, right?
Yeah.
They actually
globally,
quoted him. Yeah, they quoted him and said it was amazing what he said.
Yeah, it was amazing. That's where it's at. And I think when we spoke about a 5-minute video, I think, we were talking, is it fear-mongering?
Because it was in light of what PSP's Leong Man Wai and Tan Cheng Bock were saying.
Yeah, correct.
It was overblown and, instilling fear in Singaporeans before the election, right?
Yeah. So now, Terrence, is it a case, as we always see with, Singaporean artists,
yes,
you will release a song in Singapore, people are like, hey, fuck this useless. Then when it go viral around the world, come back, hey, actually this guy not bad. This guy,
I wanted to ask you first. Are you ready to retract your comments about how lembek this?
I never say lembek.
Then what do you say? What
did I say? I said no, it did feel like there was some the feeling I left with was fear.
You said motherhood statement. Is it? You call it motherhood?
You said motherhood. Motherhood is not a word that I typically use.
Okay,
it was you. Motherhood.
But you're very
statement.
about motherhood. You're very much mama's boy and everything, right?
No. I'm very pro motherhood in the sense that I'm supporting my wife, in her journey of motherhood as a responsible father.
Yeah, so let's clarify what we said the last time about that 5-minute video. What did you say again?
I think what I said was that it was something that was the one takeaway I had from it was I was fearful. I wasn't really sure what the concrete things we're supposed to do except stay united.
Yeah.
And it felt like it was just like, okay, just telling people, hey, like the clouds are dark, but
Yeah.
not telling us where the umbrella is or what they're going to do to find an umbrella.
Yeah, correct.
So that was for me.
And I think I agreed, and I added that, of late, a lot of the things that I felt Lawrence Wong was saying in the lead up to the elections felt like very motherhood statements about staying united and all that.
Yeah.
So generally, we walked away maybe, feeling a bit of fear, a bit of confusion, and not really feeling super confident or inspired, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, kind of also refuting what the PSP said about this being an overblown right?
Yep.
So that's happened last week. So this week, like Terence, how does it feel to be sitting on your tail?
My tail between my legs and just coming back and saying, I retract everything I said, I unconditionally. But no. I think there's a bit of nuance to it, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I mean, let's. I guess we're talking about Lawrence Wong's both that little 5-minute video he did as well as his ministerial statement, right?
Yeah.
But since we talked about a 5-minute video, can we talk about the ministerial statement a bit, right?
Yeah.
You watched it in its entirety, I suppose.
Yeah.
And what were your feelings after you watched it?
I mean, like, I think, okay, this is maybe what was I was hoping for in that 5-minute speech. And maybe he didn't market it as a teaser. He was like, coming up next week. And it's a teaser. This one, it did give a bigger breakdown on like certain things about the tariffs, certain things that I wasn't aware of also. For example, that the tariffs, as in the trade deficit that the US has, is mainly together with goods. Physical goods. But when it comes to services, they run a trade surplus with a lot of countries. Because there's software and all these different things that they export. But this is a tariff across the board. And then he also talked a bit more about what he is doing, certain things that can be done with ASEAN, kind of laying down more specifics about why this is very dangerous and how it is that like the US, what they're doing goes against the very principles that they have set out to follow, like way back with the establishment of the WTO and all. I felt like it was building off the 5-minute video. So I mean, you listen to it, you're like, okay, this is more substantial, more concrete. Still no firm details about what is happening. But then, he flashed the bat signal to Gan Kim Yong. Form another task force. Then Gan Kim Yong, open his cupboard.
MMTF.
Yeah, that's why he's like, okay, where are the tablecloths? With the mic stands. We need to form another task force. But that is a concrete step. So that for me, for you?
I think when we posted the last podcast where we talked about that 5-minute video, subsequently on Reddit, I think people then suddenly posted, Lawrence Wong is going to give a scheduled ministerial statement on the tariffs, right? So I think that was a new development, right? It wasn't something planned for during this sitting in Parliament. And since it was coming out and it was scheduled, good. I thought that was good. At least like now there's something to look forward to. Because like you, I didn't feel like the 5-minute video was very comprehensive or very particularly inspiring or confidence building. But with the ministerial statement, I think that was it. I think he hit the nail on the head. This one. It was the first half felt a very good economics lesson. And the second half, that was when it was about, okay, what's the message of staying united as Singaporeans, right? And what the takeaway should be. So I was actually listening to the speech on 2x speed, after, right? But when it came to that part where he talked about do not fear, I actually had I had to go back and then slow it down, and I watched it in 1x speed, just because I wanted to feel.
Your hair stand on the back of your neck.
It was I mean, I thought well delivered, right? And deserving of a bit more of the commendation that he's receiving now. A bit more deserving, more so than the 5-minute video, I thought. So I'm not surprised that people are responding well to this ministerial statement. But a 5-minute video, I guess, still quite surprising to me.
Because that is the one that I think has 6 million views on the Hindustan Times.
Yeah.
5.8 million views 5 days ago.
But maybe, so that's where it's how I sort of split the speech into the first half being an economics lesson and then the second half being the message on staying united, right? I think that second half of the ministerial statement appealed a lot more to us because we are Singaporeans, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the first half, I think that whether whichever part of the country you're from, or whichever part of the world you're from, that's the part that will appeal more to you.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what people in other parts of the world are not getting from their own leadership, right? A more clearer breakdown of the tariff situation and why it's so unfair to Singapore also, right?
Yeah,
Singapore and other small countries around the world.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's being celebrated a lot. I think that 5-minute video that he did last week had that economics lesson part, but didn't really have the how can Singaporeans stay united part.
Yeah.
And that's why we felt not super adequate.
But even then, the ministerial statement from Lawrence Wong, it feels like it's getting way more plaudits from around the world in Singapore.
It is.
I mean, on Reddit, okay, you can see some people saying, okay, like, as much as you want to criticize him and all, this was a good speech. It was a good speech.
Yeah.
Right? And I also noticed, right, in the 5-minute video and this ministerial statement, he had the one sentence that was exactly the same.
Which was?
But what the US is doing now is not reform. It is rejecting the very system it created. Maybe he realized from the 5-minute video, the most replayed thing. He was like, fuck, I got to keep this in.
It's true.
Yeah, I got to keep this in. All his script writers, like the people he work with. I mean, okay, we don't know who writes the script. It might be Lawrence Wong himself.
Yeah.
I don't know. The one thing that I think we have always acknowledged coming out of COVID is that he's a good communicator.
I always felt so.
Yeah, he's a good communicator.
And that first interview he gave to The Economist, right after he became Prime Minister, I think we both enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, but that being said, I think I still feel like, okay, so maybe this the one thing, I wouldn't say like we are fully retracting our statements for that 5-minute video. I think it still stands, right? And I think this one, it is a good speech. But the thing that stuck out to me most is maybe, it's easy to say, Singaporeans don't know what we have. We always complain and shit like that. The one thing that's clear is that this is something that maybe a lot of people do not expect from their own leaders around the world, right? Which is a good thing that we have leaders that can do things that other people look up to.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't mean that just because of that, we need to be grateful. Like this, if this is the baseline in Singapore, then I think that's good.
Yeah.
Which means that our standards, we need to keep pushing ourselves.
Yeah.
We need to keep holding the leaders accountable, and we cannot just say that, okay, actually everybody around the world loves him, loves the speech. Okay, maybe we shouldn't criticize or something.
Correct. Yeah.
And I think that in some way is a good thing that we can enjoy, that we should be grateful for.
Yeah.
Not that, our leader gave such a good speech, but this is the baseline in Singapore. This is what people feel like, okay, this is par for the course, man.
Yeah.
What more can be expected?
Yeah. And to that point, even Leong Man Wai himself, he did a Facebook post, I think 2 days, last night, last night? Yes, 2 nights ago, actually. The timing I can't figure out. But he basically said the Progress Singapore Party welcomes the PM's reassuring message to Singaporeans in Parliament today. Do not fear the tariffs. That is the same message that we would like to send to Singaporeans, and we have no intention of downplaying the new tariffs. So, in some way, Leong Man Wai is also trying to say that that I think the PM's message is much clearer in this round in this speech, on this ministerial statement, and that they were not trying to downplay what the tariffs mean for the global economy and Singapore's economy. But that said, you and I, we studied in the US before, right? And one thing that I'm sure you felt when you were there, or discovered when you were there, is that especially it's very easy when you're in a much bigger country like America and all that, right? It's very easy to be caught up in your own bubble and your own news cycle and all, and not realize that there are other parts of the world where people speak pretty decent English, that people have, pretty decent infrastructure, right? Even though it's part of Asia or something, but we're not we still have pretty good infrastructure and comparable, if not better, than a lot of developed countries and all that, right? Especially when we were there in the 2000s, right? So, because I'm seeing some of the responses on whether Blue Sky or X or whatever.
Oh, Singaporeans can speak English, is it?
No, yeah. They are literally saying the shock actually also comes probably from just seeing another world leader that isn't American or Canadian or European or Western, right? Delivering a speech in very articulate terms in the language that they understand, that really spells out what this means for the rest of the world, right? And that's where I think part of the shock comes from. And I say that because I think on the Blue Sky post that you referenced, there's one comment that says, one of the many reasons it puts that Americans are at a disadvantage is that we don't see much global news on TV. So Americans don't get much exposure to what politicians in other parts of the world sound like and all that, right? So, I mean, in some sense, I think that's where Lawrence Wong can shine here, right? Where he's a good communicator in English, and because he's talking about an issue that everyone around the world is thinking or talking about now, right? So I feel that there's a little bit of that element there.
And if you think about it, for the US now, when you listen to your president, it's Trump.
Yeah.
Who says, countries are kissing my ass,
selling
shit
Teslas,
like that.
selling Teslas in the front lawn.
Yeah,
White
and then
House.
your previous president, Joe Biden, would stop like halfway during a speech.
Yeah.
So maybe the fact that someone can string a sentence together and make sense, any American, they're like, oh my God, this is fucking amazing. Not say any American, like a good amount of Americans. But yeah, so again, this maybe is a reflection of the state of political leaders in other countries and the world. And I think what we've heard quite a few guests on our own podcast say, I think starting off with people like Sudhir and all, like we shouldn't just think that because other countries are like this and we
Lowering
are
the
better than them, why compare to them?
Exactly.
We should always be aspiring for more. Right. So
I think that's something we do ask, especially the political guests, right?
Yeah.
Whether how politics is conducted in other countries is a bad thing or good thing or bad thing for Singapore, right?
Yeah.
Where, Trump is issuing statements on social media. He's, like talking down to Zelensky in front of the press and everything. We talked about whether that's a good thing. Does it mean that he's being more authentic, or is that what you want to see from your leaders?
Yeah.
And in some way, I think Lawrence Wong has demonstrated to the world that we don't have to do that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
In fact, even just the way he phrased like how that's not something friends do to each other. That because we see you have a kid now and I have a kid, and then like I always see like playground politics and things that happen, right? And there's a lot of, I don't friend you already, you're not my best friend anymore. And I realized it's such a visceral thing that kids from such a young age, they know how to use that as a weapon already, But they do it in such a confrontational way. You're not my best friend anymore. You're the worst friend ever, that kind of thing, So even just saying that that's not what friends do to each other is a lot, you can say pagro, but I would say it's a diplomatic way of saying that, hey, that's not on, right? That's not on. Yeah, I don't friend you, right? That kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So in some ways, I was like, okay,
not
bad, yeah.
I think next time you annoy me or something, I'll be like, Terence, that's not something that one does to a friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that fucking line, be it WhatsApp, face to face.
Yeah.
How would someone be able to feel good after hearing that?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you imply that, I thought we were friends.
Yeah.
This is not one does to a friend.
Yeah.
It doesn't even imply that the friendship is over. It's a current friendship.
Yeah.
But just this is not something that a friend does to another friend.
So is that more aggressive than saying that's not cool? Like, like that's not cool is another one that a lot of people like to use, right?
Yeah. No, but that's not cool is emotional.
It's emotional, right? Yeah.
And it's like when you get in an argument with someone, you just tell, hey, that's not cool.
Yeah.
You,
not cool.
That's not cool. But and if you say that's not on, it's like, hey, you still in colonial times. Is it? Hello, can you get with the system or not?
Yeah.
But that is not an action one does to a friend.
Maybe that's what next time, if you like in MRT or something, someone bumps into you or and doesn't apologize or what. That's what you say, no?
But you're not friends with them,
That's not what one does to a friend.
No, fellow citizen.
Fellow
Singaporean.
That's not what you do to another human being. Something like that, right?
Except if they are cyclists going, you have to say it fast. Hey, that's not what
not cool is easier.
Hey, not cool. But that's not one does what to do.
Maybe it should be a bumper sticker, right? Do unto others what you would want to do unto a friend, right?
Yeah, or a friend do unto you.
Yeah. Do unto others what you want a friend to do unto you.
Yeah. So I mean, in this case, it's no real faults with the speech, and I think even when the questions were asked by leader of the opposition, Pritam Singh, Leong Man Wai, and a few other MPs, I think certain things also you can't blame Lawrence Wong or Gan Kim Yong to not have answers for. Like, I think what are the specific actions that are going to be done and all.
Yeah.
I think Gan Kim Yong is just formed the task force.
Yeah. Or they still the composition of the task force is not announced or anything.
No announced. I mean, the one thing also that, okay, so this is where you go down the tinfoil hat thing, which is where, there was talk that, this might be a tactic for the incumbent to use given that the elections are near. Like, not to say fearmonger per se, but point out or subtly point out that this is the time for stability. I'm glad Lawrence Wong didn't make that the brunt of his speech, even though he did say a few times in the speech and in responses that the only way they can confidently, assemble this task force, dedicate resources, is because they've been financially prudent and that they have the reserves to do so. Which is like, pointing out that, okay, you all have big reserves.
Yeah.
But when it was shared globally and all, there was that context also was not there. Understandably so. But it is another layer that just makes you think that it is an election year.
Yeah.
Elections are, said to be around the corner. I wouldn't say that there is that element there, but maybe it's at the back of people's minds in Singapore. But globally, they don't have any idea. It was not contextualized in any of the comments.
Yeah.
Again, understandably so. So that's where it feels like, okay, there's another layer.
I mean, that's where I guess, like, as the opposition party, you kind of need to build up. You know that can be a message that the incumbent will put out, right? And so I think we saw Harpreet Singh himself put it out there, right?
Yeah.
Like pointing out that stability in itself is not necessarily what you need to navigate this new world order.
Yeah.
He said, I think the line is, what we want is, if you change without evolving or improving, that's not stability, that's stagnation, right? So I think there are ways to counter an argument that, crisis coming, so we just need to, hunker down, be stable, don't change too many things, right?
Yeah.
So I do feel like, even though the incumbent might want to lean in that direction of talking about crisis or stability, it's a bit like there are ways to counter it already. Yeah. It's a bit like for a number of years Manchester City was like the way they played football is they were unbeatable, right? And then once people started figuring out, then suddenly there's a lot of different tactics to play against them already. Yeah.
But what does that have to do with it?
No, I'm just saying that the idea of repeatedly saying that there's a crisis and that we need stability, I think it might not work. It might not fly today. People have figured out how to counter that.
But do you think Lawrence Wong got check his phone or not? Like the Singapore upload of his speech got how many views? Then all the overseas one, he got more views.
I mean, whether or not he checks his phone, I'm very sure his team and all are very cognizant of the image that he's putting out there, right? And they would tell him.
Yeah.
He would. I mean, I guess they would celebrate it as a win. Right?
Yeah. That definitely as a win.
Yeah.
And I think, when there was someone, I think, on Reddit, because this speech is being shared in Reddits or subreddits, or like not just Singapore, New Zealand politics, and I think they were contrasting it with their own leader, Christopher Luxon. I think the one address that he has put out publicly is where he was speaking to the Chamber of Commerce. And that's where he talked about the impact of tariffs and all. And people are pointing out, there's no message to the people. There's no message to the country.
Yeah.
It's just this close group of business owners who are doing well. What kind of bullshit is this? So, I mean, interesting to see comparatively how people are perceiving our own leaders versus their own leaders.
Yeah. But I guess one thing also to remember is that maybe not everyone around the world is taking this news the same way that we are in Singapore, right? Because I think in Singapore, given how big trade is, in our economy, right? We are much more susceptible to a fall in global trade, right? And our economy will hurt more, and we will be affected in terms of jobs a lot more than some other countries. And there are people who recently we spoke to who live overseas, and they do feel like in where they live in other parts of Asia, or that they might not feel it as much as Singapore feels it. And so that might explain why the response from their leaders feels a bit more muted. Of course, I'm not downplaying what they feel about their leaders, but it's literally maybe the people on the ground are not even kicking up as big a fuss about it as Singapore is.
Yeah,
Right.
And I mean, even when Russia invaded Ukraine, right? Singapore took a very strong stance because we are under threat of. We have a small country,
Yeah.
and just like what has been done to Ukraine, where these other big ass countries steamrolled across, it could happen to Singapore, and I think that's where the leaders, rightly so, they took a stance that this cannot go because the rules of the world about bigger countries invading smaller countries cannot be disrupted.
Yeah.
Same way with this World Trade, WTO philosophies or the concept of free trade. Yeah, it can totally screw Singapore over.
Yeah.
But I guess PSP also didn't, when Trump paused the tariffs and put it down, it's almost like, kind of like, in some way what they were saying, right? We don't even know the impact. We don't even know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they didn't put a see, we told you so.
Told you so. Yeah.
I told you so.
But you're right. There are some people on Reddit saying, oh, to all those people who called the PSP, called their bluff and everything, right? What you're saying now, right?
Yeah, correct.
In some way, the fact that Trump sort of flip-flopped again, and in fact, he tweeted about that it was a good time to buy stocks and everything right
before the pause, right?
I mean, it really is. I think what Lawrence Wong said is true, unstable protectionism is way more dangerous than just protectionism. You don't even know whether their strategy, how long they're going to stay with the strategy that they are announcing today, right?
Yeah. So in some way, both of them are not wrong, that. Even I think now the markets have tanked again, but for a while I think it dipped 8%. Then when the pause happened, it went up 8%. And you look at the broad trend, yes, it's a blip but the volatility can screw people over. And I think even one person we know that I was speaking to, that his business already a bunch of contracts have been lost, which is just people protecting not against the tariffs per se, but against the volatility. Because you impose these crazy tariffs, 1 week later you remove them, another week later you impose them again, or if you go back to an equilibrium, it doesn't mean that there's no volatility. And that's what people are protecting against.
Just budgets getting cut, right?
Yeah.
At this point.
It's scary.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just crazy times. Crazy times.
Okay, but I mean, it was a good speech.
Yeah, it was good speech.
Good on Lawrence Wong.
I think people should watch it because, when Ong Ye Kung came on and he very concisely explained the impact of tariffs, this is a much more detailed version of that. And I think if anybody wants to kind of understand certain things about the tariffs, the impact of it, and what it means for Singapore, it is a good watch.
Yeah.
It is a good watch. So, kudos to PM Wong, man.
Yeah. Kudos to PM Wong.
Yeah.
But I mean, interesting that he's also involved in the next story that we're talking about. Slightly goofier, but still a matter of great importance to discuss, right?
Yeah.
And what is this hoo-ha about?
It is a hoo-ha that went over the course of a few. I mean, the timeline also is damn ridiculous,
Yeah.
Because it's all about a certain post made by a certain political commentator known as Calvin Cheng, former NMP, right now self-proclaimed business mogul, and the honorary.
Did he declare himself a business mogul?
I mean, I think he's mentioned before that he has run multiple businesses.
Okay, but not mogul in those words.
Okay, correct. Sorry,
because he's self-proclaimed. I mean, that's a bit.
I mean, okay,
proclaim yourself a mogul is something.
He prides himself as being a very savvy businessman, very successful businessman, and right now he's the honorary consul of the Republic of Serbia in Singapore.
Yeah.
So, in response, I mean, basically, PM Wong and a few other ministers have chastised him for certain comments he made in response to the activists who disrupted the recent Meet the People session held by Shanmugam.
Yeah.
And I mean, to recap that, there were these two activists from this group, Monday of Palestine Solidarity, and they disrupted the MPS session. We spoke about it. We also were not a fan of how they conducted himself.
Yeah.
But Calvin Cheng made a post about it where he kind of let me get the post specifically.
Yeah.
What was it? Oh my god. Yes. So he put out a post and there was one paragraph where he said, and I quote, "I would like to sponsor them to relocate to Gaza, expenses paid by me, but only if they never come back. I'm offering business class to the leaders, and to their 928 followers can buy them some walking shoes each. Take a slow hike.
Yep.
So there was a wave of criticism that came towards that post from organizations like the Singapore Islamic Scholars and Religious Teachers Association, PERGAS, leaders like Shamugam, Mazagos, and most recently Lawrence Wong.
Yeah.
And I mean, Calvin Cheng himself has met some religious leaders and said he is deeply remorseful.
Yep.
So that all happened in the span of a few weeks.
Yep.
Another thing that was thrown into the mix was Foreign Affairs Minister Vivian Balakrishnan, who apparently liked the post.
His account.
His account liked the post, but subsequently came out and said there was suspicious activity in his Facebook account, and he has reported the matter to Meta, that he disagreed with the views put forth by Calvin Cheng.
Yeah.
So that is a summary of this whole shit show.
Yeah.
What do you make of it, Terence? What do you want to talk about it?
I think, it's at a point where there's been a lot of back and forth about it. And I did not see this coming. I did not see that the Prime Minister himself would get involved. And it's interesting, it's more than just statements. It appears that after Calvin Cheng met with the Ustaz Hasbi and Ustaz Pasuni, after that, Lawrence Wong also met with them. Yeah, and he posted about it on Facebook. He said, he met them during his visit to the Madrasah Al-Junid, and then both had met with Calvin Cheng earlier, and he had thanked them for doing so. So in some way, now the Prime Minister is taking time out of his schedule, fighting terrorists and the elections and everything, to have to kind of quell this fire, right? That started by Calvin Cheng, right?
Yeah.
And it's not ended either, because remember, Calvin Cheng is still suing a couple of people for defamation, for saying that he said things that he didn't say, right? And calling him an Islamophobe, I believe.
Islamophobe.
So it's not the end of the chapter, but it's a very big step, right? That the Prime Minister now has come out and, like you said, chastised him, and sort of the Malay Muslim community also having this session to meet with him, and for him to say that he's deeply remorseful.
Yeah.
So I think that's why we're talking about it, because we've reached that fork in the road, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But when you heard him saying that he's deeply remorseful and putting out a statement, how do you feel about it?
I mean, so Calvin Cheng is he's a social and political commentator. Now he also posts about health and beauty and business.
Yeah.
But his posts, I won't deny that sometimes when he writes certain posts, it is thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Because he takes very different views from a lot of from me on a lot of things. I mean, we have spoken about him before. I think one episode was when he was calling out every kind of F&B outlet that doesn't want to go cashless. There's still mandates that you pay cash.
Yeah.
That's something also that I disagree with. Of course, we all want a smart nation, but it's hard to say a blanket thing that, if you don't accept fully cashless, you're an idiot. So, I mean, he posts a lot. And sometimes, I think it's still worth considering his posts. You can disagree, you can agree with them, but it's important to have different voices. But in this case, it's completely uncalled for. And his posts about, feeling remorseful and all, it's hard to take it at face value that he's really remorseful. And it's more like...
Well, why do you say that though? Why can't you take it at face value that he's had a productive meeting with two ustazes, and now he's sorry and remorseful? Why?
Yeah. I mean, you can... I still appreciate him saying that he's remorseful and being apologetic and taking the time to meet these leaders. But I think even in the past, he's made certain comments about, killing children.
No, he didn't.
No, he did say something about
terrorists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a matter that was taken up.
Yeah.
And in the end, the Media Literary Council said that there's nothing criminal about it. I think the other post that he didn't make was something that Muhammad Jufri kind of put falsely in his police report.
Yeah.
Which was a post made by someone else.
Yeah.
But if you look at his posts, they are sometimes incendiary. They are can be sometimes extreme.
Yeah.
So when I see this thing, like, is he deeply remorseful because of how it has escalated? Because I mean, he made the post like a while ago, lah.
Yeah. And he's defended himself quite fiercely on his own Facebook.
Yeah, and he said he wasn't targeting anyone of a specific race or religion, and that it was more about the activists, the group of 928 activists, which includes like a Chinese person and an Indian person.
Yeah.
So when he says deeply remorseful, it feels like it is because of the storm that has been stirred up. That's why he's remorseful. If there was no storm, I don't know. I don't know whether he would have made a similar remorseful post.
But isn't him taking the act of physically going to meet the ustazes, isn't that?
Oh yeah, I think that's a plus.
Good step, right?
That's a good step.
So I mean, we can speculate about whether he really feels remorse about it, but him taking the time and doing that, I think it's a productive step, right?
Yeah,
it's better than more back and forth online, right? For sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, if the PM has to get involved, to quell the fire and all that, he has to get involved, So in some ways, I think, even if I just take the post at face value, the very fact that he took the time to go and have to meet with the ustazes and all that, I think at least it's a step in the right direction, and hopefully also helps him to see why his post, you can say it's not targeted at a group or a religion or what, but doesn't bring discourse in the right direction. I would say, we talk about decorum in politics and all that kind of thing. I think these are the kinds of posts that actually more divisive than anything, right?
Yeah, more divisive than anything. So you can argue that it's performative and all, but you can't take away from the fact that he did it. Yeah. And I think anyone who wants to go down the path of, redemption or kind of accepting responsibility for what they've done wrong should be commended.
Yeah.
Right.
But there are also still people even like with his apology and all, there are still people saying that they feel like he did nothing wrong and that people are just being too sensitive. Right? Yeah. What do you feel about that?
I mean, this whole thing feels like he's been blown out of proportion.
Overblown.
This feels like it's overblown. Because how many ministers have chimed in?
Yeah.
If you think about the ministers who have been involved, involuntary or voluntary, there's also Tan Kiat Hao and Vivian Balakrishnan, whose accounts like that post.
Yeah.
Then you have Masagos, Shanmugam, and Lawrence Wong.
Yeah.
These are not like just backbenchers or anything, and it feels like, okay, there was also nothing to talk about the liking of the post. Because, so for Vivian Balakrishnan, I know some sentiments online saying he confirmed liked the post, because the Calvin Cheng does have a very pro PAP stance,
on a lot of things.
Yeah, he's been at NMP before.
Yep.
And of course, NMP is supposed to be non-partisan.
Yep.
So I won't say anything there. But on the topic of Vivian Balakrishnan's Facebook page liking that post, if you think he liked it personally, that is the problem. If you think there was suspicious activity that caused his account to like the post, that's also a problem. But that hasn't been kind of like addressed. And it makes me feel like, is all this, ministers coming out and really saying that what he did was messed up? Is it because there were two ministers whose pages liked the post? So they have to be like, you know what, we cannot have that sentiment going around. As a party, as a government, we need to clamp down on this.
Yeah.
Is that what
I do feel that Calvin Cheng's generally people know that he's more pro-establishment, right?
Yeah.
And he's a honorary consul, which, as far as I checked, is a private citizen who's appointed, right?
Yeah.
To be in this position, to do almost, not officially an ambassador, but to sort of promote like trade between the countries and relations between the countries and all that, right? So it's kind of, it still feels like it's an official position, right?
Yeah.
So in some ways, he's part of the establishment, and I think his remarks quite incendiary. And I don't know if I agree with you that I feel that the whole thing's overblown. I do feel like there needs to be accountability for these statements made. Because not necessarily about religion or race or anything, but just the very fact of like, because you disagree with a certain group of activists' views about things. Because of that, you want to condemn them, to send them to essentially like a war-torn area, right? And what happens when people go there? I think he said that I just want to send them to help and all that, right? But at the same time, we know we're seeing it happen. Israeli soldiers are even accidentally shooting emergency workers, right? There's a lot of strife and violent things going on there, right? So I don't feel like wishing to send anyone to that area is necessarily something that you should wish on people who have a different opinion from you. It reminds me of the days when we used to call people who moved to other parts of the world quitters. It's like, you're not happy here, then you leave, that kind of feel. And I don't like that kind of attitude, especially when it's coming from someone who's, part of the establishment.
But in some way, if you look at it from the bare facts, he's offering to send them to a war-torn place to help.
He didn't say to help, he just said to send them one-way ticket. Correct. Don't come back.
Yeah, don't come back. So I mean, that's where I feel like, I think there is something very condescending and almost trivializing in that statement. And that is the problem.
I think that's the problem.
Right, because you're almost kind of like, then, I mean, he has aired his views on Palestine, Gaza, Israel. But, when Shanmugam came out and said he has a completely different stance from Calvin Cheng on that, he didn't elaborate what is exactly that completely different stance. Which made me think, actually, what stance does Calvin Cheng have? Because we know Shanmugam's stance. And to his credit, even when he has come on our podcast talking about it, he has condemned the actions of Israel. Right? So then what is Calvin Cheng's stance? So there's that question there. And I think just a couple of hours ago, Sudhir, friend of the podcast, he posted something that pointed out something about the CNA's report and how it was titled. He said the current line is, the March 13th post sparked public outcry with several ministers speaking out against Mr. Cheng's comments. Then he pointed out, from a journalistic point of view, shouldn't it be more along the lines of the March 13th post sparked public outcry largely because 2 PAP ministers liked it? Which, I mean, if you look at the chronology of events, that kind of points towards more of what happened. Because, I mean, Calvin Cheng made a post on March 13th. But there was nothing. There was no outrage. There was no police reports that were filed. But it was only when these 2 ministers kind of liked it that it caused public outcry. And I mean, there are times when news breaks because of the actions of a certain individual. Most recently, the NRIC saga, right? It was because Bertha Henson was vocal about it on Facebook, and that caused the public outcry, led to a bunch of investigations. But in this case, the 2 ministers kind of liking it, then that is a very different thing. They were liking it. They weren't looking back and saying that was a terrible thing to say. In fact, the action is a bit odd, and that's why it felt like that has been completely just missed out.
I mean, I kind of get where Sudhir is coming from, but at the same time, I would say the ministers liking it, they were more of a catalyst to more people seeing the comments, as opposed to the reason why people were angry, right? People were angry. I think they'll be angry regardless with Calvin Cheng's comments, right? As a Singaporean, I don't like this kind of rhetoric going on there. But yeah, I think it was catalyzed by the 2 ministers and not necessarily because the ministers liked it. And if the ministers, I mean, you kind of got to take at face value what they say, right? That they do not condone, and it was a mistake or something, some error, some hacking or whatever that happened. But yeah, it's not just because the 2 ministers liked it. I think just by the content itself, I felt like it's not the direction that we should be going in terms of civil discourse about quite an emotive topic, right? That, even on our podcast, we've had tough, conversations with people about it, quite emotional conversations with people about it, even Palestinians themselves and all. And the language used can be very, can have real consequences, right? So we have to be very careful in talking about these emotive issues. And that's where I hope, Calvin Cheng, if anything, is a bit more sensitive about these. Not necessarily sensitive, but thinks about like in his role as someone as part of the establishment, like the impact that his words will have, right?
Yeah. Because I mean, but again, it goes back to the thing. Like the thing that is the mystery is the two ministers liking it, lah.
It is,
and I mean, I agree with you that it is not because they liked it. It was a catalyst, lah, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it brought more eyeballs to the post itself. But when he made the March 13th post, I mean, he has almost 70,000 followers. Some of the things do go viral. And I don't think the only people who follow him are people who support him. I don't support him, but I still follow him because I want to see his thoughts on different things to think whether I agree or disagree.
Yeah.
So that whole thing about the two ministers kind of liking it, that is a mystery. And the fact that it has led to, even the PM responding, that thing not being addressed or even an update on it feels a bit weird because ultimately these PAP ministers and political individuals in general, Facebook is a way of communicating.
Yeah.
Right? And if it has been compromised, that's almost like a big issue.
Security threat.
Yeah, it's a security threat.
Yeah.
So that's where it feels like, okay. It's a bit interesting that has no closure at all.
We'll see, lah. I mean,
you think of investigation?
If Meta is investigating it, hopefully that we can actually hear some results of that.
Oh, but the people who hack quite high level, let's hack, but we're not going to do anything else.
Yeah.
Now, don't buy stuff from wish.com or something.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. And but I mean, at the end of the day, we know that there were Russian bots also who influence U.S. elections by spreading a lot of fake news and creating fake articles and things like that.
Yeah.
So there could be more to it than we think. Like it might not just be one isolated action of liking one post. There might be other things. But I think we kind of need Meta to step up and explain if anything happened, right?
Yeah. So yeah lah. I mean, hope it doesn't just fade into anonymity lah.
I hope so also lah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just I think hopefully. From now on, there's a bit more of closure on this case, and then if any updates we get are like the factual updates about whether it's lawsuit or Meta's investigation and all, right?
Yeah.
But yes, two nice big topics to talk about. But what has been your one Shiok comment in this whole period, lah?
My one Shiok comment.
Yeah. And please make it positive, Harish. Seems like people are catching on that you only respond to incendiary comments.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Because I did have one question that it shouldn't be my one Shiok comment, but yeah. So okay, wait, you have yours first?
Yeah, maybe I do. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There was this comment on the YouTube. I mean, a lot of positive comments on YouTube, right? About the latest episode with Harpreet Singh.
Yeah.
So Village 8701 says, Terrence and Harish, you're both so good at what you do. Fantastic hosts with excellent questions. Keep doing what you're doing. If you continue to hold your integrity and keep this space honest and open, you'll find that certain groups will want to be invited to your platform rather than you having to send out invitations. Bless you both. You think it's true? You think that, if we keep doing what we do, more people will want to come on?
Yeah, I think so.
But I think there's also the flip side, like when people realize that, we try our very best to be transparent and authentic about things. That we might not be the most favorable interviewers.
That's true, though.
We won't just softball our way through an interview and all that.
That comment was on YouTube already?
On YouTube.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, I do appreciate this comment that it made me think. It did make me think that us continuing to ask questions and invite the people that we invite, will it mean that more people will want to talk to us, or will they be more wary of talking to us?
Actually, that's true. It might be that there might be people who might be more willing to talk to us, but at the same time, it might push away some people.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, then it is what it is. Like in this case, we have reached out to a bunch of people who have appeared on other podcasts, but not appeared on ours, including, PM Wong and his team.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And both sides, both opposition and also the PAP side and all that.
Yeah.
We reached out sometimes, and sometimes we don't get, where we don't get time of day lah. I think like presidential election, I always talk about it. Like I found it very. It was very disappointing personally for me that we didn't manage to talk to every single candidate out there.
Yeah, I mean, we reached out way ahead of time, right? From the time it was announced, and then see them go on other appearances where the questions are not really about their politics or anything.
Well, at least we know what food they like.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. And where they get it from. Okay, so my one Shiok comment is actually from a long-time commenter on Reddit, ZZ Way. So what they put was like, I've been listening to this podcast since GE 2020. Yes, the old Yalla Butters. And it's amazing to see how it has evolved. What started as a summary of sentiments from various media outlets is now shaping up to be an influential voice in Singapore's political landscape. Having heavyweight politicians and candidates on the show really changes my perspectives on SG politics. This growth is a testament to the fantastic work Harish and Terence have done. Yallabot has truly become the leading podcast for political discussions. Great job, guys. Oh, and I mean, they go on to say like, before Yallabot, I mostly followed what was covered in mainstream media and often lamented the lack of information about the opposition. Now, thanks to this series of interviews, I have a much better understanding of what these candidates stand for, what could be improved, and what to look out for in a good candidate. They still comment more, but I think less about the first paragraph where it was saying how we have evolved. I think the second paragraph means a lot because if we are filling a gap that has been there and people are finding it useful and maybe having more stuff to think about, that is the most important thing for us.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, ZZWay, for listening to us for 5 years already. Can't believe we've been doing it for 5 years.
Yeah,
and it is going to get more exciting. Yeah. As we have mentioned, we have some plans for this election, which are going to be super interesting. And we will let you all know in due course.
Yeah.
Cool. And what about your one Shiok thing, man?
My one Shiok thing is actually the football related, right?
Oh, mine also.
Is it? Okay, then you want to go first.
Go first.
I think you talked about it first earlier. They said I can have that. You have it.
Oh, no, but it's not what I talked about earlier.
Oh, it's not what you talked earlier. Yeah, actually, it's about the Lion City Sailors, right? The Lion City Sailors, they played in the semi-final of the AFC Champions League, and they actually beat Sydney FC, Sydney Football Club 2-0.
Yeah, man.
So, Sydney FC, Australian team, right? And Australian League actually is pretty good, right? And just last Friday, I was at the Bishan Stadium watching the Brisbane Roar beat the Singapore Women Premier League All-Stars 7-1. So the disparity in standards was pretty apparent, right? After the first 10 minutes. So I wasn't expecting much when I was thinking about this game. I didn't watch the actual game itself, but saw the highlights and all. But it's quite amazing that, Lion City Sailors are, beating, Japanese teams and now Australian teams and have a good chance of making the final.
And I saw one of the two goals. The guy took a shot from damn far out and I was like, oh my God, that's a good goal.
Yeah.
So Lion City Sailors.
Yeah, so shout out to them. We're definitely watching the second leg for sure. Yeah.
Cool. That leg was where? Singapore,
yeah.
Oh, okay. So my one Shiok thing is also football related, and it's about someone from a club that I don't even support. Recently, Arsenal played Real Madrid in the quarterfinals. And they won 3-0. And if you look at the highlights, they played damn well.
Yeah.
And they were playing at the Emirates Stadium, so it's their home ground. But two of the goals, right, came from this player called Declan Rice, who, I mean, he's not like world famous, and I think he hasn't reached the level in terms of fame as Steven Gerrard, Paul Scholes or Frank Lampard. But he scored 2 free kick goals. Have you seen the goals?
No, I haven't seen it. No.
Like the first goal, and it's against Real Madrid. The goalie for Real Madrid is Philippe Courtois. He's like a world-class goalkeeper. He's more than 2 meters tall, so he covers a lot. The first goal, Declan Rice curled it around the wall and it was beautiful. The second goal is one of the best free kicks you will ever see.
Better than Roberto Carlos.
I mean, in some way, I prefer it more than Roberto Carlos. Okay. Yeah. Because, I mean, it's just, you watch it, it's amazing. And the best thing, right, is Declan Rice hasn't scored a free kick for 4 years.
Oh, is it? Wow.
Yeah.
He scored 2 in a game.
He scored 2 in it, and it's very sweet. In the interview after that, he said that's probably the best moment of his life.
Wow.
Arsenal beating Real Madrid 3-0.
Yeah.
He had a few chances. He played damn well, and You see the second goal, oh my god! And the way the commentator reacted to it, you just look at it. You're not an Arsenal fan or not, you just look at how he reacted, right? It's just a beautiful moment, lah. And even if you're not a fan of football, just to look at how the ball curves and how he struck it, it was great, lah.
Oh, I'm go watch it.
It was fucking great. Like the first free kick is good, but the second free kick is even better.
Okay.
That's great.
Cool.
But yeah, so that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Remember, if you enjoyed it, please share this podcast, share it with your friends, your family. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and social media. We are putting out a lot of content there.
Yeah.
And stay tuned for whatever else we have exciting coming up for the G 2025.
Yeah, and if you want to work with us, just email us at contact@ministryoffunny.com. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks,
Cool.
everyone. And we'll talk to y'all soon.